the fateful wedding day. The gentle morning sunlight streamed through the lush green trees, casting a warm glow over the courtyard of an ancient church in the heart of the city. Today was no ordinary day. It marked the beginning of a new chapter for Tien, fondly called Tien. The air buzzed with joy, and each white rose lining the path to the church seemed to herald the sacred moment about to unfold. In a small room behind the church, Tien stood before a mirror, her eyes sparkling with happiness. The pristine white wedding dress hugged her slender frame, its delicate lace patterns enhancing her graceful beauty. She looked like a princess stepping out of a fairy tale, her hands trembling slightly as she held a bouquet of white roses and baby's breath. Her heart swelled with a mix of nerves and overwhelming joy. Today, she would marry Jack, the man she loved with every fiber of her being. At the far end of the aisle, Jack waited in a sleek black tuxedo, his gaze fixed on the church doors. Tall and confident, his warm eyes betrayed his anticipation. For Jack, this wasn't just a wedding. It was a vow to devote his life to loving and protecting Tien, the woman who meant the world to him. As the doors swung open, Tien stepped inside, her light footsteps gliding over a petal-strewn red carpet. The guests fell silent, captivated by the radiant bride, but for Tien, only Jack existed. His tender smile promised, "I will cherish you forever." Before the priest, in the solemn hush of the church, Jack took her hand and vowed, "I promise to love, cherish, and protect you through joy and sorrow, in health and in sickness." Tears of happiness rolled down Tien's cheeks as she whispered, "I do." The church bells rang out, blending with the guests' applause. White confetti danced in the air, sealing their sacred moment. Jack lifted Tien's chin and kissed her gently, igniting the start of their eternal journey together. The first days of happiness. After the wedding, Tien and Jack settled into a quaint house on the city's outskirts, a surprise gift Jack had prepared for her. Though modest, the home was warm, adorned with green plants and rustic wooden furniture. Their married life began with simple, heartfelt moments. Each morning, Tien planned to make breakfast, but Jack was always one step ahead, bustling in the kitchen with an apron tied around his waist, preparing toast and coffee. "My wife shouldn't have to work hard. Let me take care of you," he'd say with a smile that melted her heart. She'd watch him, seated at the table, feeling happiness wash over her like a gentle stream. Jack was a dream husband. Despite his growing responsibilities at his new financial company, he always carved out time for Tien. Evenings were spent sharing dinner and stories, with Tien proving to be more than a wife. She was his confidant, attuned to the pressures he hid to shield her from worry. Those early days felt like a blissful dream. They planted flowers in the garden, watched movies together, and sometimes simply sat in silence, basking in each other's presence. For Tien, Jack was her rock, her hope for a radiant future. The first troubles. Yet, no happiness endures without trials. Jack's company faced fierce competition, and rumors swirled that he'd started it despite his former employer. These lies spread quickly, tarnishing his reputation. One evening, Jack returned home exhausted, setting his briefcase down and staring out the window in silence. Tien placed a comforting hand on his shoulder and asked, "Is something wrong?" He sighed. "The company's facing issues, but don't worry, I'll handle it." But the situation worsened. His secretary, Juan, arrived one day with grim news. "Boss, someone's sabotaging us, spreading rumors and buying our stocks." Jack's expression hardened. He knew this was more than a business setback. It was a fight. Then, a new complication arose. CEO Tone, a man who once loved Tien, reappeared at a charity event she attended, publicly expressing concern for her. This added pressure to Jack's already strained personal and professional life. The meeting with CEO Tone. One rainy afternoon, as Tien sorted through Jack's documents at home, her phone rang. "Hello, this is Tone," a familiar voice said. Stunned, she recalled Tone, an old friend who'd once confessed his feelings before she chose Jack. "I'd like to meet and talk," he said gently. Hesitant but curious, Tien agreed. They met at an upscale cafe. Tone, in a sharp gray suit, exuded confidence, but his eyes held a mix of emotions. "Are you happy?" he asked quietly. Tien smiled firmly, very happy with Jack. Tone studied her, a bittersweet smile flickering. If Jack were ever gone, would you choose another path? He asked suddenly. Uneasy, Tien pressed. What do you mean? Tone sipped his coffee, his gaze distant. Jack's facing a tough battle. I just want you prepared, he said cryptically, leaving her anxious for Jack's safety. The business battle. Jack grew consumed by work, uncovering a plot to manipulate the market against his company. Late one night, Juan confirmed, someone's trying to ruin us, and I suspect Tone's involved. Jack's eyes turned cold. He wants a fight? I'll give him one, he declared. Juan added, Tone has ties to shady forces. This isn't simple. Standing by the office window, Jack gazed at the city lights, resolve hardening. He hadn't expected Tone to use Tien's past against him, but he was ready to face anything. Tien's concern. Returning from her meeting with Tone, Tien felt burdened. She wanted to tell Jack, but hesitated, seeing his fatigue. Yet, Jack noticed her unease, pulling her close. What's on your mind? He asked gently. I met Tone today, she admitted. Jack listened as she recounted Tone's words, then smiled reassuringly. Don't worry, I won't let anything harm us, he said, though he knew the stakes were rising. The major crisis. Soon, Jack's company lost a vital contract, and his beloved mother was shadowed by strangers. One night, an anonymous caller threatened, hand over Project X documents, or your mother suffers. Furious, yet helpless, Jack glanced at Tien sleeping beside him. Silently, he vowed to protect their family, no matter the cost. Jack's decision. Refusing to yield, Jack investigated Project X, a secret tied to powerful interests. He secured his mother and Tien with a security team and prepared to confront the enemy, even at personal risk. The fateful meeting. Tone requested a meeting at a restaurant. I'm not your enemy, he said calmly as Jack arrived. Skeptical, Jack pressed, then who is? Tone revealed, a bigger force wants you stopped. I can help with Project X info, if you promise to protect Tien. Surprised but pragmatic, Jack agreed. An unexpected alliance. With Tone's aid, Jack uncovered a corrupt conglomerate schemes. They planned to expose it publicly. Tien, too, contributed, analyzing documents and offering insights that bolstered Jack's efforts. The turning point. Their evidence hit the media, triggering an investigation that dismantled the conglomerate. Jack's company stabilized, and his mother was safe. Grateful, Jack and Tien invited Tone over. I wish you happiness, he said warmly before leaving, the sunset glowing behind him. Lasting happiness. Through trials, Jack and Tien's love deepened. They built a joyful family, their bond unshakable. With each other, they knew they could face anything.